Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to another session of Living World of Darkness, Camarilla Venue, and this morning actually, this afternoon, we are finding ourselves in a scene set in the early hours of the evening at Lady Sheridan's wonderful mansion, and the scene opens with Lady Sheridan doing whatever she's doing about her mansion, and she hears a like crashing sound, like someone's knocked over a plant pot or something like that.
Excuse me, I'm afraid something has come up. I shall have to call you right back.
Okay.
With that, she hangs up the phone and heads in search of finding out what has happened.
Can you make me a perception roll, please?
Straight perception or perception alertness?
Perception alertness.
Okay, dicey dice. Come here, dice. Two successes.
You hear a sort of gruff man's voice. And he's trying. You can tell he's trying to speak quietly, but his voice is quite deep, so you can hear it. And he goes, "Billy, will you be fucking careful?"
And Lady Sheridan is going to step round the corner with one hand on her hip and take in exactly who it is that is around.
Well, where are you? Whereabouts are you in the house now?
Well, she's gone in search of the sound, so presumably the back garden? I don't know.
Yeah, you step out of the back door to the garden, and you see two quite large, quite bulky shapes um, of men moving around, and you can tell that they're not thieves. They're far too. Well, if they are thieves, they're bloody terrible thieves because they're.
Yep. I'm going to turn on the lights.
They go. They
I'm going to
sort
turn on the lights, and there's suddenly going to be floodlights flooding the garden.
of. They put their hands up as the sudden light shocks them, and it's two sort of men in their mid-20s to early 30s, shaved heads, beards, tattoos, and they're wearing leather motorcycle waistcoats that you recognise because you've seen Ghost wear one very similar a few times. It says the Archfiends on it, and it's green and black.
Is there some reason you are wandering around my property?
They sort of gawp at you a little bit because you've got high appearance. And the boss said to keep an eye on you, and Billy here knocked over a fucking plant pot. Fucking idiot.
I see. Would you care for a cup of tea?
Uh, yeah, sure.
And she'll just walk straight back in through the back door towards the kitchen. Because let's face it, they probably would be better than this if they were planning anything.
Yeah. They walk in. You can see when they get a bit closer that they are armed with like pistols, handguns. But they walk in. They sort of stand around awkwardly as if they don't know what to do in such a nice house.
And she will just go about making a pot of tea. There's a table in the kitchen that they can sit down at. But she has her back to them at the moment because she is focusing on the kettle and sorting the tea out.
One of the men nudges the other one on in the ribs. If you bend over to pick up something, that sort of thing. They try to do it without your notice. But they are guys after all, and they're not used to refined ladies. They're used to strippers and prostitutes and
There will
yeah.
shortly be a pot of tea on the table and a small plate with a bowl full of sliced lemons and a slightly larger plate with biscuits. I'm afraid I don't tend to take mine with milk. You'll have to forgive me. There's not much in the house.
That's all right, miss. He says. They sit down and they drink the tea. They seem to be British, oddly enough. Um, and they know how to drink the tea. They're British, and they, and they but they sort of do it in a sort of builder's way, where they sort of grab the cup and roughly dunk the biscuit in and shove it in
Yep.
their mouth. Very very lacking manners. And about a couple of minutes in, before you've had a chance to ask any questions, one of the guys' phones rings, and he sort of stands up, goes towards the door, and he answers it, and he goes, "Yeah." And you can hear Ghost on the other end going, "You fucking idiots! I've been watching you. What you're doing? What are you doing inside the house and slacking off? Get back to work. Stop messing around. Just tearing a strip off them, basically." And he goes, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, boss. We'll be back in just a minute. We're just having a cup of tea." "I don't care if you want a cup of tea. Get back outside. Stop slacking off, or you have me to deal with." And
You're quite
they,
welcome to take the tea with you.
and he goes, "Oh, thank you." And they both look a bit sort of like, I think in a dark alleyway, if you were really opposed, they'd be quite intimidating. But right now, you can tell that they're just sort of big cuddly teddy bears in biker attire. Um, and they sort of pick up their cups of tea and go back outside, and they're sort of wandering around, patrolling the outside of the house.
And Lady Sheridan's just going to sit in one of the upstairs rooms where she can keep a vague eye on them and try and figure out quite what they're keeping an eye out for.
There's um, make another perception roll, please.
Difficulty.
Um,
Nah, it's probably a fail.
what did you get? 6.
Yeah.
You can see a car parked across the road. Um, and it seems to be it's there for a while. If you stay there for a while, it just sort of stays there, and you can see there are people in it, but you can't see who they are. The windows are sort of tinted.
And she's going to make a few more cups of tea and put them on a tray. Because
Okay.
tea is ever so helpful when dealing with humans. Ad- Admittedly, in America, they tend to prefer coffee, but still.
Yeah.
Um, so she's going to make a couple of cups of tea and probably a few cups of coffee as well, because she is American and I'm not. And she's going to take the tray out to the car
Okay.
and knock on the side of the car with this tray full of tea and coffee in the other hand.
It's not quite a limousine, but it's one of those sort of official state cars,
Mhm.
big car, and
Yeah, town car.
but yeah, like a town car. Yeah, it's got tinted windows and it's got a window that separates the front from the back,
Yeah.
and the window rolls down. and um, a young woman looks at you, and she's sort of painting her nails. Again, you notice that she's wearing green and black, and so's the gentleman next to her, who looks a lot more serious than the two men you encountered inside. He looks sort of, he's got a little earpiece in and sunglasses on, and he turns towards you and looks at the tray and looks up at you. And the woman also looks at you, but she doesn't say anything. She sort of cants her head back to the back seat of the car, where you can see Ghost sitting there with her feet propped up watching TV.
Would you care for a drink? She say this to the two that are sitting in the car. I'd hate to be inhospitable, since you seem to be keeping such a good eye on my property at the moment.
Uh, the woman sort of does the thing with your hands where you've got wet nails and you can't really pick anything up. And she splays her fingers out, and the man looks exasperated and leans over wordlessly and takes a cup of tea. Thanks.
And she'll put another cup into the cup holder for when the girl's nails are dry.
Yeah.
Would you care to explain the sudden security measures? This is to Ghost.
Ghost looks over at you. She takes her headphones off, and she opens the back door of the car and pats the seat next to her. Sheridan, nice to see you.
And Lady Sheridan will set the tray down near the curb, but like off to one side where it's out the way, and get into the car.
Ghost seems she's watching an episode of CSI, and she looks over at you, seemingly quite like as if the situation was completely and utterly normal and you knew everything about it. How are you? How's it going?
It is going relatively well. There's several issues that have come up, but several opportunities as well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just taking the boys on a little training exercise, and I thought, seeing as we've got problems at the moment, um, you might need some added security. But I don't think I'm going to be using Billy because he's an absolute fucking buffoon. And the two in the front start laughing in agreement.
Well, I suppose it rather depends on what he is supposed to be doing at the time.
Stopping you from becoming a decorative piece of musical art.
Yes. Or one of the growing number of disappeared.
Indeed, I don't think any of the She's about to say something, and then she reaches forward and presses a button, and there's an extra piece of glass that slides up in between the driver's side and where she's sat in the back, and it's soundproof glass. And then she takes her finger off the button. She goes, I don't think that any of the Primogen are particularly safe at the moment.
I would be the last to disagree with you on that point. I can certainly say that I feel rather more secure knowing that you're taking an interest.
Well, I've got to do something, haven't I? I don't like to. Have you seen this? She indicates to CSI, and it's an episode about a serial killer. They say that all the serial killer's victims know each other. I'm trying to work out what the connection is between the first victim and the second.
There is not always a connection between them. Sometimes the only connection is the serial killer themselves and the way that they view them.
Yeah, I mean, what is it about these particular people that has sparked his or her interest?
Yes.
Rather
What
than,
is it that makes them appeal to our killer's artistic sensibilities? Speaking of which, I believe there's another incident.
another one.
Yes. And that our killer was seen.
Oh?
Though, given her use of obfuscate, I'm not entirely certain we can rely on any actual visual reports. But it's all rather confusing.
Ghost raises an eyebrow at you as if she wants you to explain a little bit more.
Limey attended a concert last night. Something to do with the serial killer, but I don't know quite how he connected it or what is going on. But she apparently was there. The place burned down. There was
Coincidence?
something about a heart, but I know all I was called in about was making sure that our dear Harpy does not end up on the front page of the papers.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good.
He rescued someone from the fire. And last thing we need is the hero of the hour gaining attention for himself.
No. Hmm. Ghost looks out the window as she's distracted by something, and it's the two guys, and they found like a fountain with one of those cherubs having a wee. They're both pointing and laughing at it and playing with the stream. And she sort of you can tell she's laughing a little bit, but she gives them a stern look, and they let go back, and then she winds the window up just to stop it from distracting her any further. Well, so what do we actually know so far? What do we know about?
Well, she's been involved in 3 incidents, and after each, she has sent a message to the newspapers.
Right.
I've intercepted her most recent one and adapted it somewhat, which should hopefully let her know that we are aware of her actions.
She obviously wants attention.
She does. This is very much apparent in her latest message.
What did it say?
Art without an audience is wasted. There was more, but that is the key point, that she is focused on the attention.
Hmm. I don't really know.
I have found her email address as well.
Oh, really?
Well, as I said, the message came in.
Ghost gets out a laptop from underneath the seat, and I'm going. What's the email address? Do you have it with you?
The Maestro at yahoo.com.
I'm going to make a um. I think it's. I'm not sure. Actually, I need to look at the quick roll sheet whether it's intelligence plus computers. I think it's intelligence plus computers. Roll because I actually forgot that my character's got pretty high computers. I could probably hack something. Um, what Ghost picks up the she starts typing in her computer, and you can see that she's sort of using a trying to work out how to if she can locate anything about the email address or find any information on the email address. Um, and
Out of character? I have no clue, and you'll have to talk to Blue about it.
what I'll do is I'll make the roll so she can see that,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll pass it along to Margot. I just need to check what the actual roll is.
Wouldn't it be intelligence computers?
I'm pretty sure it's intelligence computers, which gives me a roll of 6.
What is quite disturbing is that there might be a link between the disappearances of the kindred and the killing of the kine. I'm not certain, but Frank said that there was some suggestion, some reason to believe that there was a connection between the fact that now Elena has joined the number of the missing and our serial killer.
I know that Lyman said something to me about Rose having a funny vision.
Yes, that would certainly explain it. They did seem to have quite an involved conversation at the Elysium.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the link would be.
Nor do I. But there is a growing number of kindred missing, and a growing number of kine used to fuel this individual's desire to make themselves known. So, if there is any information that can be gained from one to help with the other, there is only one way to find out. To solve one of the two mysteries. Both are equally puzzling.
Yeah.
I mean, we've yet to have any information on Mr. Peck, aside from his silence regarding the fire, so I'm quite content to consider him dead for the moment. Elena, as I said, is now missing, which is rather of a high concern for our sheriff. And of course, Lady Arabeth is also unresponsive. Many leads, all presumably leading to the same place, but
I think that it's a good bet that if it is connected, the person wants us to investigate and wants to. I mean, because Mr. Peck's place was trapped to all hell.
yes,
Has anyone been to Arabeth's apartment?
not as yet.
I, I guess that probably is trapped too.
It seems likely.
And there are cameras. It's possible we're being watched.
Yes, I had thought the cameras were likely to be his, but given the level of the booby trapping, it is entirely possible to be otherwise. Or even if they were, I suppose it is possible they could have commandeered them.
Yeah, exactly.
But yes, there is much in need of investigating, and quite few who seem willing to take the risks to do so.
Well, be honest with you, I'm not so keen to mess around with any sort of exploding coffins or any of that bullshit ever again.
Yes,
But who else is gonna? It's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it, I guess. And we all need to put our finger out and find out what's who or what is causing these disappearances.
definitely.
And I certainly don't want to see anyone else, let alone me, go missing. I like being alive. Um,
I have certainly grown used to it. Should hate for things to change.
so I'm trying to work. I mean, I'm not the smartest or sharpest tool in the box. It was never really my specialty, but I'm trying to sort of work out how we can put these pieces together. I don't know.
It would help
They
if I was
caught Jack
privy
the
to all
Ripper.
of them at
Why
times.
can't we? We could do this. If they found out who Jack the Ripper is, we can do this.
I wasn't sure they did.
Yeah, they did recently.
I see.
She shows you. She gets out her iPhone quickly and just quickly taps something and shows you that they've found using DNA evidence. They've found out that Jack the Ripper was this Polish dude.
I see. Quite interesting.
So we can do something. Hopefully not that late. We'll be waiting over 160 years to find out who did this.
Yes.
Um,
Especially not if there are more bodies piling up in the meantime.
Now, my theory is that this person has a base of operations.
Would seem likely.
Probably where they're, if they are using the cameras, probably where they've got them routed to. Also, I just don't, it doesn't seem right to me that they'd be able to do that sort of mutilation in the street.
No. It does seem highly probable that they'll have somewhere, whether it's temporary or permanent, but they will have somewhere that they can control access to.
I think we've got something with these this transport, these vans. I think there's something to do with the vans, the industry. I don't know why, but it makes sense to me that they'd be moving the bodies around in vans, and I think it makes sense to me that it would be pretty easy to move them around in, I don't know, maybe like butcher's vans or meat refinery vans, because these vans get checked.
Well,
Because obviously people try and ship or hide in them or ship guns in them, stuff like that. So they do get checked every now and again. It's I don't know. It's a loose theory, but I think for some reason it's just flagging up in my brain that I think it's something. I think they're using, or she's using, some sort of transport.
it certainly seems possible. Perhaps someone with influence with the police could look into the traffic cameras of the area, see if there's any common link in the vans at the different crime scenes.
Mm. Yeah, that's right.
I'm afraid it's not my forte, but it certainly bears investigating at some point.
I know Limey has a little bit of influence in that area. but not much. It's sort of you can't have your cake and eat it when you deal with the criminal element.
Very true. Although, if we just need the information and need it fast, there are methods.
Yeah.
If I can
I mean,
get into the same room as the individuals in question.
Ghost sort of smirks a little bit, more at your tone than what you're implying. Um, where do you think the where do you think these videotapes get stored? I mean, it wouldn't be with the police necessarily, would it?
I wouldn't know, I'm afraid.
Because in England they go to the council or wherever people that issue parking tickets and stuff like that.
It is entirely possible.
So that would probably be a good place to look into it. I mean, I think your way would be better. I could certainly do it, but I think your way would probably attract a lot less attention.
If we can find out where to go. The problem, as I said, is that there are many leads and very few of us that are willing and able to investigate them.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems that Limey's onto something.
It does seem so.
He's a smart fella, otherwise he wouldn't be able to track her down that far. But or she had called us or something. It's dangerous for him to go on his own.
Well, as far as I can tell, he did speak with the sheriff beforehand.
I just got a horrible feeling that she's trying to lure us into a trap, a bigger trap.
It does seem highly probable.
I don't really feel like playing games.
No. But we need to look into so many things. But the disappearance of the various kindred certainly bears some attention.
Peck, Arbus, and Elena.
So far.
They're all very different, aren't they?
Very.
I can't imagine Elena. I've never met the girl, but a gangrel. I don't know how. Why? She seems like she'd be able to look after herself.
Does seem likely, but as I said, Frank has some reason to believe that she's connected, that her disappearance and inability to respond to attempts to contact her is related.
I think maybe what happens to the bodies so far? They've all been taken to the morgue, I guess.
I guess so.
What about the wind chime thing?
I would guess that that went there as well.
Do we know if the body's been identified?
I believe so. But as I said, I'm not privy to all of the information. Might be a lot easier to try and put everything together if I knew all of the pieces. But the sheriff must do things his own way.
I need to speak to the sheriff sooner rather than later.
Most
And
definitely.
I think it would be better if we do go and investigate any of the kindred's disappearances, that we don't go in small groups. We go in a larger group, because
Because it may be trapped again.
It may be trapped again, and I don't really feel like getting trapped in a burning building.
No.
First time this month. Um,
So who would you recommend?
if we get together with, if I try and get hold of the sheriff, um, we can try and get a small group of us together to go and look for Lady Erebeth. And we all need to put our heads together and sorry, Ghost gets a text. She looks over me. Sheriff now. Put our heads together and find and put together what we do know, all the facts, so that we can try and put this piece together in a group rather than trying to work it all out on our own.
Yes, we did have something approaching a gathering yesterday. But something rather more purposeful might be called for. And something a little less, shall we say, divided.
Yeah. Well,
After
sheriff.
all,
So.
as you said, there was a dream, and Mr. Limey went to investigate something, and the first I hear of it is when I am asked to clear up the mess afterwards.
Yeah, he didn't tell me shit either.
So, seeing as I'm fairly certain that I was actually present when he was discussing the matter with the sheriff, just outside of earshot, the idea of sharing such things with the group as a whole might be worth discussing. Because if many of us have only small pieces of the puzzle, it will be very hard to get a clear picture.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I'm gonna meet up with the sheriff in about 2 hours. If you want to come along, see if we can piece together any more and talk to him about the possibility of checking out Aramis' place.
Speaking of which, and investigations that may prove dangerous, would you care to engage in at least some of that training sooner rather than later? It is entirely up to you, of course, but I thought I might offer.
Ghost looks at her watch. Yeah, why not? Got a bit of time. She presses down the window and she leans forward and she says, "Alright, be back here in 2 hours, okay?" And the guy at the driver's seat nods. She gets out of her side.
Sheridan will get out as well, pick up the tray, and head back towards the house, depositing the tray on one of the tables just inside.
Ghost passes her two guys on the way in and she says, "Watching out of here. I don't want to see either of you in the house. Right. On your best behaviour." And and she's like, and then she says, also, and she turns around, she goes, "Do not call me for the next 2 hours. I do not want to be disturbed." Then she closes the front door.
And Lady Sheridan will lead the way inside and head down to a purpose-built basement room. You may guess what this room will be designed like.
Ghost sort of she chuckles and she goes, "White picket fence and a dungeon in the basement."
Well, what would you expect? I'm sure you'd be highly disappointed otherwise.
I wasn't expecting a crockery collection, or today. A hot tub would have been nice.
Well, that's upstairs.
Ghost is smirking, but she keeps her thoughts to herself.
And the first step, of course, is the transmission of the blood.
Ah,
You
yeah.
need to absorb it into yourself so that it will activate the parts of your own nature that associate best with it.
Right. So, so what? How do you want to do that?
I'm open to suggestions, but the simplest way is generally the best one.
Which is
she'll give you a wry smile and just hold her arm out.
Ghost looks mock disappointed.
I did say it was the simplest. It's not the only. There are plenty of other options.
Well, you can see her sort of processing it a little bit, and perhaps a month or two ago she might have suggested a couple more options, but now she's somewhat emotionally committed, and it doesn't seem quite right to her. As odd as the concept is in Ghost's mind. And so she walks over, um, takes your hand, Lady Sheridan's hand, turns over the wrist, and glances for approval once more.
She'll smile and give a small nod.
And Ghost will bite, and but not bite for too long, obviously, because you don't want to be there under the kiss for
Yep.
ages. He's not going to take a point of blood. He's just going to have a taste. That's all you need for a blood bond.
Mhm.
She has a little bit, and then she licks the wound clean.
Splendid. Now, fortitude is the stubborn expression of mind over matter, of your will being stronger than the damage that is done to your body.
I see.
In order to practice, unfortunately, you need to deal with said damage.
And I'm guessing she looks over at the various instruments about the room. So our safe word should be banana?
She'll smile. It seems perfectly acceptable.
Good, I hate bananas. Something Freudian in that.
She'll smile again.
So, where do you want me?
And she'll gesture towards the St. Andrew's cross that looks heavily reinforced compared to the standard ones.
Ghost goes over, And
Lady Sheridan will help strap her in.
a wise option, with my weakness and all, I wouldn't want to lash out at you.
I simply thought it might make you more comfortable. There are many ways to go about this. Almost as many as there are ways to go about the sharing of the blood.
Mm. You see her sort of lick the corner of her lips. After all, vampiric vitae is somewhat nicer than human vitae,
Especially a Venture Vitae.
especially ventry vitae, which I'm sure is very refined. Um, but she's not going to entertain any more thoughts of that nature because that leads to bad situations. Um, she seems pretty comfortable with being strapped in.
And because it needs to actually do quite a bit of damage, she's going for something she doesn't tend to use very often.
Okay.
Cat o' nine tails.
Okay.
It's got to do damage to kind of count, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Unfortunately. And here is where we start doing random rolls. Well, not random.
Can you spend willpower in stamina rolls? I guess you can.
Yes, you can, I think.
I have. I think it might be a good idea to do that because after what you said about it being will power the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I think it's going to be lethal. So
Yep.
how much lethal is yet to be seen.
Yep. But yeah, she doesn't have a huge deal of strength. But
No, she does 'cause she gets everyone else to do the fighting for her.
yep, quite frequently. Does tend to work. But yeah.
Just I'd say make three um,
3 rolls, you
strength
thinking?
melee rolls, dex melee
I'm
rolls. I
going
mean.
to use strength torture rather than strength melee.
Okay.
Because it's actually slightly higher.
Oh, you bitch.
And because obviously it's kind of appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay, there's one. And then, wait, it's dex to do the first one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dex, and then it's strength for the second one, isn't it?
Yeah. Strength for
Sorry, I'm
damage.
not really...
Sorry, I should have corrected you. It's dex for hitting if you're using
Oh,
melee.
just a sec, I seem to have accidentally turned the volume down. What were you saying?
It's dex for if you're using a melee weapon or whatever. It's dex. It's dex for anything actually.
Yep.
And
So
then
3 successes on the dex.
you roll. Um, how much damage would the cat and nine tails do? I'd say
Well, it's got little sharp bits, but it's
yeah, quite a
spread
lot.
out over 9 rather than...
I'd say roll your throw 3 dice for your successes, and then another
1?
2 probably.
Okay.
Because they do hurt. I'm not that I've had one
They
of these
do.
before, but they're supposed to hurt.
So that's 1 to soak.
Okay. Ghost is spending willpower because of what you said. Oh, and she soaks that easily.
And that's 2 successes there. And one to soak again.
You see her sort of, she's flinching, but you can see like a look in her eye, like, you know, a determined look.
Yep.
Yes, and success. She's doing well.
Yep. 2 to soak this time.
Ah. Well, actually, what happens when you spend a willpower? Does it actually give you an automatic success? Or do you...
It does. It gives you an automatic success, I think.
In which case, you,
Do 1 lethal.
yeah, you do one lethal. You see, you hit her a bit harder this time, a bit more precisely. And the first sort of blow down, she seems to take, and then one of the little tails catches her and scratches. You see the, you see the wound. Obviously, it doesn't bleed. The vampire wound, but she hisses through gritted teeth, but doesn't flinch too much.
Splendid. It seems for the most part that you're quite well aware of your body's tolerance for pain and for damage, and for boosting said tolerance. I think you will learn quickly.
I think I'll have to.
Yes, especially as each lesson does become more dramatic.
Goody goody.
And she'll stroll over and run her fingers lightly over the wounds on Ghost's back, just catching the skin slightly with the fingernail.
You feel her shoulders tense somewhat.
She'll raise an eyebrow. Something the matter?
No. Little tender, maybe.
She'll smile. Well, we can't go doing too much damage to the hound, given the state of emergency that things are in at the moment. I'm guessing we'll have to continue our lessons a bit later.
I gather these sorts of things take time anyhow.
Yes, it certainly does take the time to absorb the energy and the thought processes into your own being. And here she'll reach towards the buckles to undo Ghost and pause just short of them, raising an eyebrow, as if to ask if Ghost actually wants to be released yet.
You can see, the ghost is looking at your wrist, where she bit before. When she notices that you've paused and flicks her eyes up to you and nods.
And she'll continue and let Ghost out.
She looks at her. Because he didn't say that she actually took any clothes off, so she probably just ripped her shirt at this point. She looks at the shirt that's got a bit of a rip in it and sort of shrugs. It sort of suits her look, the punk look. It doesn't really make any difference to her. Well, that was most enlightening.
As I said, they get more difficult, but I'm quite sure you'll be able to manage.
What do you have planned for next time?
She'll smile. Well, There are quite a few toys that I don't get to use very often. And here she'll rest her fingers lightly on something strange and unusual looking. Uh, in fact, it's quite reminds you of a clamp, but the spikes attached. It's very weird.
Ghost smiles. Just like, I see. This is what it is. This is why you want me to taste your blood, so I can be a little torture doll.
Well,
Are you sure you're not the serial killer? She does air brackets with her fingers.
quite sure. After all, there's very little you can do to someone once they're dead.
True. Maybe you should point that out to her if we ever meet her.
Yes, might very well be worth mentioning. Should she be alive enough to actually talk to by the time I meet her?
Well, you know what my plan is. Ghost makes a punching motion with the flat of her palm and her fist. But we shouldn't be hasty. Perhaps we should give her a taste of her own medicine.
Yes, we'll have a look and see quite what seems appropriate at the time.
Anyway, I should probably get to meeting the sheriff.
It does seem like something that might be advisable.
I'll let you know if you want you to step in. Or at least I'll keep you updated on what he says.
That would be most appreciated.
Ghost sort of starts to make her way out of the dungeon.
And I'm guessing there the scene will end.
Yeah, she
With
well, she makes her way out, and
mhm.
you see her go towards the car which has pulled up. Two different guys get out of the car and swap with the guys that were originally on your lawn. And the guys are sort of a little bit bewildered about Ghost having a rip in her shirt.
Yeah. And Lady Sheridan's going to head back inside and disinfect stuff because she is actually quite careful about her equipment.
And that's where the scene ends.